Welcome to Sonoma, the final racetrack on the calendar for the 4th season of Zero Racing. The championships are rounded off. There's not really a lot to compete for in terms of titles, but there are some interesting things in the team's title. There are some battles further down in the standings. We will roll on and enjoy. So we have 11 cars on the field today. Sonoma, not one of my favorite tracks, but it's one that does breed some racing, some carnage, and some chaos. So let's see what happens. On the pole position, it is Martin Lauer. He'll start ahead of Jason Mons. 3rd place for Alessio DeBonis. 4th place for the top independent driver, Michael Schneider. 5th place for Mike Mark. 6th place, Wesley Stokes. 7th for Alexander Hayes. 8th place for Rick Martel. 9th place for Mike Magasevich. 10th place for Dean Reimers, and 11th place for Mark Clapp-Zuhl. Let's get underway. This is the sprint track variant, and we're off. It looks like Mons got the better start of the two as Lauer was bogged down a little bit, but he will take the lead. DeBonis edging out Schneider into 3rd. They head to the top of the hill. Lauer has sprinted out pretty well in front, though. Mons, Mike Mark in 3rd, Michael Schneider in 4th. DeBonis in 3rd, Schneider 4th, Mike Mark 5th, 6th place for Alex Hayes, 7th for Wes Stokes, 8th for Dean Reimers, who's up 2 spots, 9th for Mike Magasevich, 10th for Mark Clapp-Zuhl, and Rick Martel has slipped to the back. I'm not sure what has happened to Rick. Battle is on for 3rd place between DeBonis and Schneider. And in the background, a little bit of a scuffle going on for 5th place between Hayes and Mark. Wesley Stokes tagging along in 7th place is in the mix as well. The rest of the field, well, they've kind of fallen back a long way for the one lap we've covered. Mike Magasevich is 8th, 9th is Reimers, 10th is Mark Martel, and we've lost Mark Clapp-Zuhl entirely, so we're down to 10 cars. Martin Lauer has always been very successful here at Sonoma and is cruising away at the moment. Whoa! Jason Mons has lost it. Through goes DeBonis. Schneider. Mike Mark goes through. Alex Hayes collects him. Wesley Stokes is through. He is the champion. He has guaranteed it, but he has not helped. He's not helped his cause today, and probably is suffering a bit of a headache after that spin. Is Jason Mons, who has gone way backwards in the pack to 6th place. So to reset, Martin Lauer is now well in the lead. He's got Alessio DeBonis, Michael Schneider, Mike Mark, and Wesley Stokes rounding off the top 5. Everyone else is way off the top 5. Mons is now 6th, ahead of Magasevich 7th, 8th place Reimers, 9th place Hayes, 10th place Martel. Academy-wise, it's Michael Schneider in the lead, followed by Magasevich, who is the Academy Cup champion. That is irreversible. Dean Reimers is in 3rd, Alex Hayes 4th, and the other 6 drivers are not eligible for the Academy Cup. Three laps into this 13-lap race. Lauer leading the way through the tricky sections of this track still. DeBonis has pulled away from Schneider, who's now more fighting with Mike Mark than trying to pass the Italian. That takes the pressure off the Spalding GT entry. And in 5th place is Wesley Stokes. He just doesn't seem to have quite the pace of the top 4, but he's sticking with them pretty well. Jason Mons recovering in 6th place. Mike Magasevich is hanging on to 7th place, and I say that, and I've jinxed him because Alex Hayes is going through, as is Dean Reimers. Hayes had claimed 7th or 8th place from Reimers earlier in the lap, it would appear. And we know as Hayes has some pace. He just collected Jason Mons, and I suspect he will sprint away from these 3 who are not really on the pace today. The 2 Golden Bolt cars of Dean Reimers and Mike Magasevich, and the Team Shashma car of Rick Martel. Interesting dichotomy here today, actually. We have most of the teams represented by 2 cars, with the exception of John Slow Racing, which has just the 1 in the form of Martin Lauer. But DeBonis was here with Mark Labzul, Mark Mons, Stokes and Martel, and then Reimers and Magasevich. You feel like Lauer probably has this in hand. He just has to keep care of his tires, not overly push the car, don't get ragged, don't make mistakes, and he probably has this done. And he's a very smooth driver, so I think he'll be able to do that. Alessio DeBonis is in 2nd place. Michael Schneider is comfortable in 3rd now. He seems to have seen off the attack by Mike Mark for now. But these 3 cars seem to have gone in some phases in this race where different ones have been the fastest and have really been able to close gaps. So it's a very interesting thing. Wesley Stokes is in 5th. I'd say he's losing ground to Jason Mons, but it's still quite a ways off, and I don't know if the gap between the 2 is really going to close enough in the remaining laps. Alex Hayes is 7th, Dean Reimers is 8th, Mike Magasevich is 9th, and it's definitely a case of Magasevich is holding up Rick Martel at this point, because we saw Martel out qualifying by a fair bit. We're seeing them fall off the back of Reimers, and that's really about all there is to say about that. Martel has to find a way past the cork in the bottle if he wants to go on the attack, because you feel like he may have a car that can challenge both Reimers and Hayes. We ride on board with Martin Lauer through the twisty bit here of the 2nd sector of this short track. Hanging through there, very smooth. It's a surprisingly difficult part of the track. Of course, here you want to be able to carry as much speed through without making contact with that wall, and Lauer shows you just how it's done into the hairpin to end the lap. A little bit of loss of traction there, but otherwise a very perfect job of the twisty part of the 2nd sector into the 3rd sector. Lauer heads on to lap 7 of 13, so we're past the halfway point. Well, we're approaching the halfway point of the race. That'll be about halfway through the lap. Mike Mark is absolutely falling like a way back now. He's not even close to Michael Schneider, and may have to worry more about Wesley Stokes and his teammate Jason Mons as this race goes on. Alex Hayes is pulled away pretty comfortably in 7th, ahead of Dean Reimers. And probably the battle, as much as it's somewhat inconsequential as a battle for 9th place, is probably Magasevich versus Martel. Magasevich is still holding on to it, and Dean Reimers is coming into play because Reimers went wide in turn 1. Or turn 2, pardon me. There is a lot of debate about whether this track layout will return next season or one of the longer Sonoma tracks will be used. Yet to have a decision made. Sonoma will be late in the season once again, although not the finale. The finale of Season 5 will be hosted at Road America, one of the 2 new tracks joining the calendar, along with Sepang, Malaysia. The Kuala Lumpur circuit. Martin Lauer still well in the lead, now on to lap 8. These laps do go quickly. This is a sprint track layout. DeBonis losing ground to Michael Schneider, who's coming back into play. We said earlier that DeBonis appeared to have pulled away from him, but you can see right in front of you that McLaren 650S, which is the top Academy car at the moment, is coming on hard. Unfortunate to announce that Michael Schneider has a scheduling conflict that will see him miss most of, if not all of Season 5, so his final rounds are here at Sonoma, and he would love to add a victory to his column. Don't think that that's happening in this race, but he could grab himself a second place. Mike Mark is losing ground at a rapid rate to Wesley Stokes. Looking in the background, it seems like Jason Mons' charge hasn't really picked up. Alex Hayes more or less on his own. Dean Reimers, after his mistake, has created a bit of a gap back to the Canadians, Mike Magasevich and Rick Martel, who are just squabbling like dogs over this 9th place position. Important points for Golden Bolt, who still harbors some intentions of picking up themselves a Constructors' Championship. Of course, that has been dampened a little bit by Genghis Khan's inability to compete during his last couple of rounds, and it has definitely hurt the team to be without their lead driver. Magasevich, Reimers, and of course weekend competitor Mark Minahan doing their best to bring it on. And down the inside into the hairpin goes Rick Martel. He is vulnerable to the switchback here, and he goes into the wall. We ride on board with Mike Magasevich. It is very, very close between the two cars, but he's going to hold that position. And hits the wall himself, but he manages to keep going. He slides wide in turn 2. Martel is through, but it's still ridiculously close. Martel ducks in behind him, looking for an opening. Magasevich is sliding around a lot. This is going to take a taxing toll on his tires. Can Martel find a way around? This is really probably the best battle we have on track right now, but we'll go and have a look elsewhere. Martin Lauer heading into his 10th lap. He still leads from DeBonish and Schneider. Schneider is caught, but hasn't seemed to really put that much pressure on. Wesley Stokes has gotten around Mike Mark at some point. Let's go have a look at how that happened. We haven't had an overtake in a little bit. At the front of the field, Stokes has taken over 4th place. We can announce some of the things about the new teams here today. Jade Falcon Autosports will employ Wesley Stokes for Saturdays in a Mercedes AMG car. So that'll be interesting. He'll also be driving an Audi R8 on Wednesdays for, I do believe, Project Velocity. Way back at turn 2 when Mike Mark just gets onto the dust and loses it. And it's very easy to do that here. This is, much like Laguna Seca last round, it's a desert, and that is what deserts do. Martin Lauer continues to absolutely dominate this race. Started from pole. I thought he bogged down a little bit at the start, but he pulled a fair lead on Jason Mons by corner 2, so what do I know about that, really? And no one's really challenged him since. He's just absolutely been imperious here at Sonoma today. This has been a track that has historically favored him. He's done very well here, and he's continuing to do so. And he is now 4 laps away from victory. Magasevich still doggedly holding off Rick Martel. They can see Dean Reimers, but honestly, I don't feel Magasevich has the pace to match Reimers, although we do know that Dean Reimers has a history of fading towards the end of races. He's a bit hard on the tires, and we can see that come into play in, say, the last 2-3 laps. Oh, Magasevich goes off, and that, I think, is going to end this battle. Rick Martel will say thank you for the 9th place. Martin Lauer, lap 10. Just about done it as he heads into the hairpin. And we're going to ride with him through the first sector here. Show you what it's like on board. What these drivers see. A little sloppy into turn 2, but it's probably the toughest turn on this track. Into the little chicane here. Up the hill. Done. And into the second sector. We've rode with him before through this. Now this corner is very interesting due to how wide that the track allows you to get. The track limits are very, very wide at that corner, and it allows for a lot of different lines. Alessio DeBonis is still hanging on to second place against Michael Schneider. The 650 does seem to have a sniff. Wesley Stokes, Mike Mark, now under pressure from his teammate Jason Mons. Mons not really racing for anything. He's got the title wrapped up. Does he really put the pressure on his teammate? Hayes in 7th place, 8th for Reimers, 9th for Martel, and 10th for Magasevich, where I would have to say that he'll probably finish. Lauer's still way in the lead as he goes on to lap 12, the second to last lap. Tires at this point will be running a little bit low on their lifespans. Probably the best battle on the track is the DeBonis versus Schneider one, and also this one between the two Zagato piston cars of Mike Mark and Jason Mons. It looks like Mons has backed off a little bit, respecting his teammate, probably needing it a bit more. Hayes in 7th, 8th for Reimers, 9th for Martel, 10th for Magasevich, who's actually coming back at Martel after going off the track. So I wonder if Martel has asked a little bit too much of his tires, and Magasevich, despite the off, maybe has maintained his tires a bit more, and we'll have a little bit of a go here on the last 2 laps. He's not had the pace really all round, but coming on strong here with a little bit of time to go. Martin Lauer ending his 12th lap, heading on to the penultimate lap with a considerable lead, a dominant show, an imperious show. DeBonis, Schneider still 2nd and 3rd, Stokes in 4th. Mike Mark is back under pressure from Jason Mons in a battle for 5th between teammates. Alex Hayes in 7th place, still in the wave of the future, the BMW M6, which we'll be seeing a lot more next season. A lot less of the BMW Z4. As things will open up, we're looking at a grid full of Mercedes AMGs, Callaway C7s, Audi R8s in the new form, as well as BMW M6 and McLaren 650Ss. Reimers in 8th, 3rd place in the Academy of the 4 drivers, and it's still Martel versus Magasevich in a battle for 9th between the 2 most experienced Zero drivers in history, battling it out for 9th place. But Martin Lauer is going to come around here to win Race 1 from Sonoma on Wednesday. Race 2 is coming up. He'll have a hard time battling his way through the grid, but he has been so dominant here that a double win to end the season is not off the cards. 2nd place is going to go to Alessio DeBonis ahead of Michael Schneider. Strong podium for the MMS boys. 4th place for Wesley Stokes, despite a bit of a weak start to the race. He finishes ahead of Mike Mark in 5th, and Jason Mons fell off the back of his teammate at the end. He will be 6th across the line. Alex Hayes, 7th in that BMW M6 that we've been talking about. 8th is looking like it will be Dean Reimers. Quite a ways to go, though. He's got an entire 1/3 of a lap yet. You can see in the background, Martel and Magasevich still squabbling a little bit over 9th place. But I do believe that this is, well, not even a 1/3 of a lap, but there we go. Reimers, 8th place. 9th place is going to be Martel. He's going to hold off Mike Magasevich, who will start from pole in race 2. And that could be interesting. He's shown an ability to keep people behind him. Can he turn that into something successful here at Sonoma? Something unheard of, because he's not been the strongest driver at this track. That is all for this race. We'll see you again for race 2.